23rd of November, Rabbi Levitt, Gemorrah.
And okay.
Hello, Rabbi, I'm here.
Okay, good. So I took a look very late last night at this Gemorrah over here. This part that we didn't quite get last time we looked at it, and I think with this that we got what we did so far, and seeing everything else, we can now put this puzzle in the right place. So what I don't want to go from the beginning of the whole sugya because that'll take too long. I just want to go to the part that we didn't know what was flying exactly, and that starts from where is it? It's the Isokadaita Ger Posol Edis. So this
okay, I see it.
Yeah, Isokadaita that Ger is Posol Edis. And that, by the way, was based upon the fact that the Gemorrah said that the words bonim lo yumsu al avois would be interpreted to mean that people would not be put to death on the basis of testimony of bonim that have no highest avos, and that is referring to a ger who has no highest avos. He does not have a halachic connection as a son to his father, to his biological, genealogical father. Okay. So the Gemorrah now is saying, if you thought to say, based upon that second part of the pasuk, that the ger should be pasula edis, now the Gemorrah says, so then we should rewrite the pasuk in the following way. If you want to learn out that a ger is pasula edis, the pasuk should have been written in a totally different way. How would it have been written? Lichtov Rachmana. Let the Torah write as follows: Lo yumsu avos al b'neihem. Now this is referring to the first part of the pasuk. First part of the pasuk. Remember, there's two parts of the pasuk. There's one part of the pasuk says the fathers shouldn't be killed on the basis of on the count of their sons, and the second part of the pasuk says the sons should not be killed on the count of their fathers. Okay, so this is the first part of the pasuk, and we would have changed the way it actually is written in the Torah to say lo yimsu abos al b'neihem, that they shouldn't die on the basis of their sons. And then the Gemorrah said likid amrinan, like we have said. Now, like we have said is referring to the Gemorrah in Sanhedrin that it said over there, lo yumsu be'edis banim. Over there, the Gemorrah learned that first part of the pasuk for the halacha that the fathers would not be executed on the basis of testimony of their own sons, and that would be the source for the Torah saying that krovim are pasul le'edis. Relatives cannot testify against one another, for one another either, for that matter, in the Bezdin. Okay, so that's step one. Okay, and then the Gemara goes on.
When you say it's their sons, shouldn't that be B'nai Hem?
That's what the Gemara is saying, that we would write the first part. We would change what it says in the first part of the pasuk, and it would say clearly that it was talking about the sons testifying against the fathers. So the way to do that would be to change the word the way it's written in the Torah. It says Bonim in the Torah, Stam, and to write B'nai Hem, their sons.
I see.
Okay, well, you have to see the whole picture over here also, because you don't quite appreciate where it's going until you see the whole picture over here. That's the first part of the picture. That's the first part of this puzzle, this one puzzle that fits into all the other parts of the puzzle. So now we continue. V'niktov Rachmana, and now in the second part of the pasuk, Niktov Rachmana, the Torah will write, Ubonim lo yumsu al avos, which is in fact that's exactly the way that the second part of the pasuk is actually written. So it'll be the same way that it's written. Okay, so now what are we going to learn out from like this? Says the Gemorrah, the Shema Mina, we would hear from the way that the pasuk was written in that way, with the first part being B'nai Hem, not like it actually is written in the Torah. We would hear as follows: Shema Mina Trey. We would learn out two halachas. What's the two halachas we would learn out? Says the Gemorrah, Chada. First halacha would be Lo Yumsu Banim Be'edis Avos. Now, this is I wouldn't have thought that this is what the Gemara is going to say right now. But this is what the Gemara is saying, and we have to understand it. First thing we'll learn is that Lo Yumsu Banim, sons will not be executed based upon testimony of fathers, meaning to refer to the psul of Krovim. Now, the reason why I say that this is a bit difficult over here, what the Gemorrah is saying is, just so that you appreciate what's going on over here, is that based upon we just got through saying how the pasuk should be written, I would have said that the psul krovim, that krovim are pasul edis, would not come from this part of the pasuk, which is the second part of the pasuk. It would come from the first part of the pasuk that says lo yumsu avos al b'nei hem. B'nei hem clearly indicates that we're talking about their sons and testifying about them. But here, the Gemorrah is saying that we're going to learn out that presumably from the other part of the pasuk, meaning the first part of the pasuk, because it says rather. I'm getting mixed up over here in the whole confusion over here in this pasuk. Oh, welcome! Somebody's coming in.
Roy's coming in.
See, Roy, we're already here. We've been here a long time. We've managed to get mixed up and confused over 3 times. You missed all of that confusion. Okay, so we are holding. We're attacking the section that we weren't able to learn a couple days ago. And maybe Luke, could you tell him exactly where it is in his sefer?
Yes, it's 88A4. We started with the 3rd paragraph, which says the Gemorrah now justifies its distinguishing thus, di salka daisach. And we've read down a couple of sentences.
Where's that?
88A4,
Yeah,
left-hand column,
yes.
the 3rd paragraph says the Gemorrah now justifies its distinguishing thus.
Oh, right. I've got it. Yeah, I couldn't see it was. I've been writing. My writing has gone over it. My notes. Okay, thanks. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Have you got it, Alan? It's
Yeah, we went over this. I mean, we tried to figure what out was saying. Not yesterday, but the day before yesterday. So what was that? It was Sunday.
Rabbi Levitt, I've gone out a couple of times already. My connection failed twice or so far in this system. So I hope I could stay now.
What's going on in Ramat Eshkol?
I don't know.
I don't know. I've been having trouble yesterday and today also.
Oh, it's not just me.
So far, for the last couple of hours, I've been okay, but earlier it was a problem.
Mm.
And last night I lost it completely for a couple of hours.
Really?
Yeah, I had to reboot my router, and it still didn't work for a while.
Wow,
Ellen?
really?
Ellen?
Yeah.
What about you?
Been okay. It's okay. Yesterday, last night, this morning was all right.
Well, okay, well, glad to hear that. Well, my internet today is totally non-existent, so that's,
Wow.
yeah, my wife had to
Oh,
take
okay.
it. So, anyway. Okay, so let's just back up and see very quickly where we've gone so far. The Gemorrah is saying, ger posel edis. If you thought to say that this pasuk holds that ger is posel edis, lichtav rachmana lo yumsu avos obonehem. The Torah should have written, instead of what it did write in the first part of the pasuk, that the fathers won't be executed on the edis of their children, b'neihem. Look at Amrinin, like it says, like the Gemorrah darshaned in Sanhedrin, that this pasuk is referring to a psul edis of krovim. Lo yumsu be'edis bonim. Fine. And then v'nikto rachmana, the second part of the pasuk, bonim lo yumsu al avos, dam, not to say avosehem, but to say it like it says in the Torah, the Shema Min Trei, and that will teach us two halachas. What are the two halachas? Chada lo yumsu bonim be'edus avos. First thing it will tell us is that bonim will not be executed on the basis of the edus of avos. So this is a bit peculiar, I said before, because we said that the place where we learn the psul edus is from the pasuk that says that fathers won't be put to death on the basis of the testimony of their sons for that reason. And here we're saying it the other way around, seemingly based upon the other section of the pasuk. So it's a little bit confusing. We'll leave that on the side. But in any case, we do understand that the limud is there in the pasuk about psul krovim. The idach, and the next thing that we will learn, of course, will be lo yumsu al pi bonim she'ein lehem chayes avos. That people will not be put to death on the basis of, on the say-so of, and then it quotes the pasuk exactly as it's written in the Chumash. Bonim. Oh, it doesn't. No, I'm sorry, it doesn't do that. This is the drasha that comes out from the second part of the pasuk. Bonim she'ein lehem chayes avos. Sons that do not have chayes avos, meaning sons that do not have a halachic status as being sons of their biological father or genealogical father. And even though it does not write bonim, but it wrote B'neihem, according to the way that we have explained over here. In other words, that's the way the Torah is. That's where the Gemorrah is saying that the Torah should have written it. Lichtov Rachmana. Even though it's going to say B'neihem, still we won't exclude the case that we want to learn out from, that we want to learn, that's not written. No case that's not written is the case of the Eved Kanani. According to the way that we have interpreted this pasuk and written this pasuk, the only thing that it says in this pasuk is two things. It says that there's a psul edus of krovim, and it says a psul edus of a ger. What happened to Eved Kanani? Doesn't say. So even though it doesn't say, because the place that we wanted to say that it does say is from the Reisha, because it says banim and it doesn't say b'neihem. But nevertheless, the Gemorrah says that's not a problem for us, because here is where we have our kal v'chomer. The Eved nafkale mikal v'chomer miger. Because we're capable of learning out from a kal v'chomer, from what is written in the pasuk, that a ger is pasul edus, and the way that the pasuk is written like this right now, we would be able to learn out that a ger is pasul edus. Somebody just came in. Welcome to whoever just came in. Does it make that ring when they also leave? Or just when they come in? Okay, and everybody following so far? Is anybody following so far? Is anybody on the line?
I'm here. I'm not sure I'm following completely,
Oh.
though.
Oh, okay. Okay, I was worried for a second that there was nobody there.
Well, we lost Roy
That,
again.
you know-
He's coming back now.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Alan is here.
Okay, good. Baruch Hashem. Okay, so what we've said, what we are saying so far, without all of the details, is basically what we're saying is that if we would change the wording of the first part of the pasuk to say B'neihem, then and leave the second part of the pasuk as it is, then we would learn two halachas. Halacha number one, that there's a psul of krovim. That's what we would learn. We would learn that bonim would not be executed on the basis of edus of their fathers. And secondly, we would learn that a person would not be executed on the basis of banim she'ein lehem chayes avos, sons that do not have chayes avos. They don't have a halachic connection to their father, not regarded as the halachic son of their father. And that would be referring to a ger. And from there, the Gemorrah says, oh, we don't have any problem now learning out also Eved Kanani, because Eved Kanani would be learned out as a kal v'chomer from the fact that the pasuk is saying that a ger is pasla edus. And then the Gemorrah continues and just speaks out the kal v'chomer. What is the kal v'chomer? Just some introduction. The kal v'chomer is that if a ger is if the Torah regards the ger as being unfit to give edus, so then all the more so, and it's written in the pasuk. It's referring to a ger, and the Torah excludes a ger, that he's unfit to give edus. So then all the more so, we could conclude from that the Torah also excludes a Eved Kanani, who is even in a lower status than a ger is. So the Torah did not need to write the case of Eved Kanani in the pasuk. That could be derived from a kal v'chomer from ger, which is written in the pasuk. And what is the basis of the kal v'chomer itself? The Gemorrah now explains. Ma ger, we find by ger de lamala hu de ein lo chayes. It's only in the generation above him that he has no chayes, meaning that as a ger, he does not have halachic connection to the generation above him before he converted. This generation existed, namely the father. Ava lamata, but below him, the next generation, meaning after he was Megayer, yesh lo chayes. He does have chayes. Does have a connection to the generation below him, after which was born after he was Megayer. And nevertheless, in other words, there's two halachic connections above and below. He's only pasul. He's only his halachic connection is only severed from one of those two connections, and nevertheless, he's pasul le'edus. He's invalidated from testifying. So an eved she'ein lo chayes lo lamata. Eved, he does not have any halachic connection to his father, nor does he have any connection to his son, from both sides, he is not connected. So, Eino Din, is it not a Kavachomer? Sheyehei Pasula Edis, that he should be Pasula Edis as well, in spite of the fact that the Pasuk was not talking about him. Okay, that's what the Gemorrah is saying over here. Now, is that more or less people following that? If there's any questions, we can field them.
I think so. That's okay. So far, I'm back again, by the way.
Oh, Baruch Hashem. Yes, we
Anyway.
we hear that. I hear that.
Right. Right.
Baruch Hashem.
Okay.
Well, Zion, a good to Yishuv. You should be able to have a good stay here on the Zoom.
Okay. All right. Now, right.
Okay. So, right. The only difficulty, as far as I'm concerned, is just what I pointed out about the way that the Gemorrah is learning the Psul Edis is a little bit hard to understand. And in fact, I have a note in regard to that if we would look into the Gemorrah in Sanhedrin, we would find that in fact the Gemorrah in Sanhedrin darshans all of the relatives that are Pasol Edis based upon learning out from both parts of the pasuk. So, in other words, really, the Gemorrah is suggesting to learn like the Gemorrah in Sanhedrin, which needed both parts of the pasuk in order to learn out a psul kurva for all the relatives that are in fact pasul to testify. I understood from our Gemorrah that we weren't doing that, but now that I'm thinking about it, it could be that I didn't realize the Gemorrah here is doing the same thing. But it didn't get that far because we got attacked by the question of the ger.
This is the Sanhedrin 27b, is it?
This is a Gemorrah in 28a, I believe.
Oh, 28a.
It could be very built that it probably starts on 27b. So it depends on where you start from, but that's the right place, like you're saying. 27b, 28a. So, but over there, if we would go over there, I'm not saying we're gonna go over there. I don't think we are gonna go over there unless somebody says that they can't live without going over there. But I would just rely on my note over here that's what the Gemorrah over there does do. We do need to have both sides of the pasuk to learn out all of the psul kurva that there are. And so therefore, that's what our Gemorrah is saying, that like we're going to learn, just like fathers can't testify against their sons, so too sons cannot testify against their fathers. We need both parts of the pasuk to tell me that, and in addition to that, the fact that the second part of the pasuk remains the way that it's written in the Chumash. What did I mean by that? I meant according to what the Gemorrah's suggestion is over here, that the Gemorrah is suggesting that the first part of the pasuk should be written differently. It should be written b'neihem. The second part of the pasuk should stay the way it is, and like that, we'll be able to learn two things. The two things that we'll be able to learn are a psul edus for relatives, and that psul we would need to learn from both parts of the pasuk, that fathers cannot testify against, they cannot be put to death based upon the testimony of their son, and also the other way around, that sons cannot be put to death based upon the testimony of their fathers. Now, the fact that it did not say Avosehem in the second part of the pasuk is the reason why the Gemorrah is allowed to maintain that part of the pasuk, the second part of the pasuk, would be teaching me a psul also for a ger. In other words, the difference between saying Avosehem and the difference between saying Avos is that if it says Avosehem, that would mean that the pasuk is telling me about a psul of relatives, that on the basis of Avosehem, their fathers who are testifying about them, their fathers cannot testify against them. But since it did not write like that, it wrote Avos lo yumsu banim al avos. That's called stam. It didn't say Avosehem, their fathers. It just said al avos. That allows us to maintain that the pasuk is talking about a different halacha. It's talking about a halacha that banim will not, banim she'ein lem chayas avos. Banim that do not have a halacha connection to their father, they will not be kosher to give edus against anybody, not against their father, not against anybody else, another Jew, nobody. They're totally disqualified from the fact that it said avos stam. It didn't say avosehem. That gives us that indicates to us that the pasuk is talking about a person that doesn't have chayas avos. And so like that, at the end of the day, we got this pasuk here that is learning relatives can't testify, number one. Number two, Gerim cannot testify against anybody. They're puzzled completely to testify. And Eved Kanani, we would learn as a Kal V'chomer.
Okay. Does it say anywhere the basis of why why all this is so? It's sort of the reason for it, not that it is so, but why? Why can't what prevents a son from the reason, the son can't testify against the father and vice versa?
You're asking, why does the Torah disqualify a son from testifying against his father?
No, not why, but what is the reason for it?
He's a relative.
But what?
He's a relative. The Torah says relatives cannot testify against one another. That's what the pasuk is teaching us.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Now, the matter of that's just the way the Gemorrah is darshaning this pasuk.
Okay.
Bonim lo yumsu al avos, and avos lo yumsu al bonim. That's the way the Gemorrah darshans the pasuk. It's the drasha is there's different ways to interpret what the pasuk is talking about. When the pasuk says, in other words, lo yumsu avos al bonim, What does that mean exactly? Who is the one who is being executed? Is it the avos that are being executed? That they should not be executed? Lo yumsu avos? Or does it mean lo yumsu anybody? Anybody should not be executed. There's two ways to read that pasuk. If you read it, that it's talking about lo yumsu, the avos themselves. So then we're going to say lo yumsu avos on the basis of testimony of their sons, because that's what it says, al bonim. That's the way we're interpreting al bonim. Al bonim means on the testimony of the son. And according to that, it really would have been more appropriate for it to say b'neihem, because then it nails down the fact that it's talking about their son. Why is it? It's not any son. It doesn't matter the fact that he's a son. It's only if it's his son that he can't testify because he's a relative.
Right.
So therefore, the fact that it says banim and it doesn't say b'neihem and it doesn't say avosehem, that's what allows the Gemorrah to say that, to take a whole different way of interpreting the pasuk. The pasuk is not talking about the fathers or the sons being executed. It's talking about people being executed. And on the basis of what? On the basis of the avos or the banim who don't have a halakhic connection to their respective banim or their respective avos.
Right.
And so that's how we would exclude a ger or an Eved Kanani from testifying against anyone. Because like that, the pasuk is saying lo yumsu anyone. No one would be executable, if there is a word like that. I don't know, but if not, then I just made it up. On the basis of a testimony of a ger, because he doesn't have any halakhic connection to his father, and to an Eved Kanani because it has no halakhic connection, not to his father, not to his son either. That's how the Gemorrah is darshaning this pasuk over here. There's two possibilities in darshaning the pasuk.
Okay.
Okay, so that was.
So now what?
Now what? Oh, that's the question. Now what?
Now what? You're right. Yeah.
In other words, you might ask, well, what did the Gemorrah come out with at the end of all of this section over here? See, the next word in the Gemorrah is Ella.
Where's that?
So what that means is that there's been a rejection of what the Gemorrah's just got through saying. And it's saying Ella. Rather, we have to say otherwise. Be the cus of Rachmana. Let's continue. From the fact that the Torah did not write it like that. The Torah did not write it lo yumsu avos al b'neihem. It wrote both sides of the pasuk stam. It wrote lo yumsu avos al banim and lo v'banim v'banim lo yumsu al avos. Neither side was specified b'neihem or avosehem, that their sons, on the basis of the testimony of their father, based on the testimony of their son. So therefore, what can we conclude, says the Gemorrah? Ella. Rather, we have to conclude as follows, that this is what the pasuk is telling us. Mi de kosev Rachmana lo yumsu avos abanim, de mashma.
I can't find it.
Lo. Can't find it? Where's this Ella? You want to know?
Yeah.
This Ella. Anybody know where this Ella is?
Don't know. Lou?
This
You
is
know?
Ella Midakosov Rahmana.
I'm looking. Ella.
Ella. This Ella is in my Gemorrah. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's 6 lines from the bottom, the very bottom of the page, and it's right in the middle of that line. Ella. It's jumping out at you.
Oh, I've got it here. Right now, I've got the Ella in the Gemorrah. Now I've got to find it in the
I see it.
on the other
It's on
side.
88A4, right-hand column. And it's from the top, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It's 11 lines down from the top.
Ah, right, I've got it. Ah, there it is. Ella mit der
Well done.
Rachamana.
Yashikoyach.
Thank you, Lou.
Okay, now we're going to get this.
You're
You're
welcome.
indispensable.
He
You are.
What's that?
said, I'm
I said that-
indispensable.
He's indispensable. Absolutely, he is. Okay. Ella, Midakosov Rahmana. Rather, we must say that from the fact that the Torah wrote it stam, meaning it wrote the first part of the pasuk stam, lo yumsu avos al bonim. It did not write b'neihem. Therefore, we should say the mashma that if it's written stam like that, lo yumsu al pi avos she'ein lo chayas bonim, that the pasuk is coming to tell me nothing. It's telling me. I think the Gemara means over here. It means it's also coming to tell me, in addition to the fact that it's telling me a psul for edus of krovim, of relatives, but it's also must be telling me, because it says banim, it doesn't say b'neihem. It's got to be telling me that people are not executed based upon avos that do not have chayas banim, meaning an eved. He does not. He doesn't have chayas banim. Now, even though a ger also doesn't have chayas banim, but we're saying that it's referring here specifically to an eved. And now the $64,000 question is, what is it over here that the Gemorrah is saying that it's referring only to an eved and not to a ger? So on that, the Gemorrah just says shman mina. So we hear out from here, it's undisputable, maintains the Gemorrah. When it says shman mina, it says we have proven it. It's undisputable. What's undisputable? That it's talking about an eved over here. Why an eved? And it's not talking, and it's not only, it's only talking about an eved. It's not talking about an eved and also a ger. It's only talking about an eved. Why do you say it's only talking about an eved? Because like we've been saying, the eved has less of he has no yichus. Ein lo chayes lo lamala v'lo lamata. He has no halachic connection, not to the generation before him and the generation below him either. Who the pasuk edus? He's the one that the pasuk is referring to as being pasuk edus, even though the pasuk itself mentions the first part of the pasuk, at least, only mentions this side of the fact that he's a father who has no connection to his son. Aval ger, but a ger, kevan deyeshlo chayes lamata, he does have a connection to his son. Oh,
Right.
He does have a connection to his son, so therefore this pasuk cannot apply to him. Right? The second part of the pasuk could apply to the ger, but the first part of the pasuk cannot apply to the ger. So therefore, we're going to say, based upon the fact that the pasuk not only says the second part, but it also says the first part, which that Bechlal doesn't apply to the ger. We're going to say that the ger is not being talked about in this pasuk. Lamata. Therefore, he is kosher le'edus. He does have chayas lamata. The first part of the pasuk says that such a person that doesn't have chayas to his banim, he is the one who's excluded. So therefore, it must be that the Gemorrah is saying that you have that you have to have both sides are not. There's no chayas. There's no chayas lamala and there's no chayas lamata. And since the ger has chayas lamata, so he cannot apply at all to the first part of this pasuk. So the fact that he could be theoretically applied the second part of the pasuk, but that's not good enough. You need that the whole pasuk applies to him, and we see it doesn't. The only one that the pasuk completely applies to is the ger, is the Eved Kanani rather. The Eved Kanani is the one that the pasuk applies to.
Okay.
Okay. All right, we went way over. Sorry. We'll say
That's
goodbye
all
for
right.
now. Yasher Koyach to everybody for
Okay.
listening.
Thank you.
And Bezos Hashem will be tomorrow. I'll be hosting the meeting. Bezos Hashem.
Okay. All right then. Thanks very much
With
for
my wife's permission.
Righto.
Okay, have a good day.
Right. Bye for now.
Okay. Best. Bye, Alan. Bye, Roy. Bye, Lou. Thanks for hosting the meeting.